Hey guys, it's your girl Designisme. Welcome back to Designisme Daily, where we design our own clothes, we design our own business, and we design our own lives. And in today's video, I will be getting into the infamous Coraline, the Other Mother costume. It is the final day of Spooktober, and I figured the best way to end off our series is by doing the infamous beldam costume, because baby, no one does needles and thread better than the other mother. So I'm just doing some quick research to see what I want my costume to look like, and because I was limited on this printed fabric, I was limited in the ideas that I had for this costume. So after doing my quick research, I knew that I wanted to keep the very structured color, but I did decide to do a cropped version of her peplum top dress. So I'm just quickly sketching out a brief illustration of what my top is going to look like. I'm definitely keeping those very structured colors, but I am doing a sort of cropped blazer top. Her top did not have sleeves, so we are not going to incorporate sleeves into our top. And I didn't have enough fabric to do sleeves anyway, so this is just the perfect little blazer crop top in my opinion. Just gonna put in those polka dots because it is a polka dot top. And once we have our illustration as to what our top is going to look like, let's just go ahead, grab our patterns, grab our supplies, and let's get started. So you're going to need 2 pieces of fabric. I'm using this lightweight chiffon because of the print, and I'm using this very thick wool-like material for some structure. You're going to need your pattern pieces, fabric scissors, and some pins. In front of you, you should have your back piece already cut out, and it's cut on fold, as well as the chiffon piece cut on fold as well, and this is going to act as our topper for the structured piece. I had to cut 2 pieces because I was limited on this fabric, but just kind of close your eyes and imagine that it's cut on fold. You're going to need 2 pieces for your front, 2 pieces of the wool as well as 2 pieces of the chiffon, but remember we are treating these 2 layers as if it's one fabric, so just keep that in mind. You're going to need 1 piece of the wool for your color, as well as 2 pieces of the chiffon. One is going to be to line the wool, and the other is going to be the actual lining. You could use 2 pieces of the wool and 2 pieces of the chiffon if you feel like it, but I just felt like the wool was thick enough, so I just used 1. For your lining pieces, you're going to need 2 pieces for your front, and our lining is going to be completely in the chiffon. And you're going to need a piece for your back, cut on fold, but like I said before, I had to cut mine in 2, so just close your eyes and imagine. So let's begin with the construction. I like to start with my back pieces first. I went ahead and constructed my center back, but you should already have yours cut on fold, so just ignore that part. I'm lining up my front pieces, right sides facing each other, and I'm just laying the chiffon pieces on top of the chiffon pieces first. And then I'm going to grab my wool layers and I'm going to place that right on top. So remember I told you guys we're treating these layers as if they are one fabric. You're going to see what I mean in a bit. Alright, so it's basically the back pieces and the front pieces, right sides facing each other, and we're just going to construct them with a 1/2 inch stitch. So we're constructing the side seams as well as the shoulders together, right sides facing each other. Make sure everything is lined up nice and neat. Alright, and boom, perfect. Once everything is lined up nice and neat, I am now going to insert those back darts. We should have done that first, but I did forget. So just make sure to insert your back darts. And I am going to run a top stitch along the front right there, just to secure the chiffon to that fabric. Alright, because like I said before, we are treating these layers like one fabric. So just by securing this little part, it's gonna be easier for us to navigate. All right. Fantastic. So once that is done, we're just going to grab our lining pieces and we're going to construct the lining exactly how we constructed our shelf layer. Shelf layer is just another way of saying the top layer. All right, the shelf fabric is what we call like the body fabric. All right, so we're just going to construct that, and I am using French seams to construct the lining, guys, just because it is chiffon and I do not want any fraying to happen, and I don't want to see any fraying on the inside. All right, so I went ahead and grabbed our color pieces, and we're just going to construct our color 1/2 inch along the circumference of the top. Alright, once that is constructed, go ahead and flip that over. Remember to snip your corners, guys. And we're just going to drop a nice top stitch along the circumference that we just stitched to make sure that it is nice and neat. Alright, this is how your color should be looking. Once you're satisfied with the way that looks, we are just going to set a nice top stitch to secure those 3 layers together. Alright, and this stitch is very tiny, guys, like maybe 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 inch for the most. Alright, so we're just going to put that aside and put our shelf piece together with our lining piece. I did stitch down my allowances for that piece, guys, because it is a bit thick. So just pay attention to that. I went ahead and inserted the back darts on the lining layer just like we did with the shelf layer. And now I'm just going to attach the lining to our shelf layer using a 1/2 inch stitch at the front. Fantastic. Just go ahead and do that to the other side. Once both sides are secured, we are going to insert our color into the neckline of our fabric, and we're basically just sandwiching the color into both layers. Alright, remember that we are stitching 1/4 of an inch for the neckline, 3/8 of an inch for the most, just because it is very, very bulky. It's a lot of layers, guys, so just take your time for this part and make sure everything is nice and neat. Go ahead and snip your curved edges so that we can turn nice and flat. And once that is done, we are simply going to close off the hem of our top using a 1/2 inch stitch. Remember to leave a space so that we can turn our top inside out. Once you leave that space, go ahead and finish stitching. Fantastic. Snip those corners so that it could turn out nice and neat. And just turn your top inside out. Alright, so just take a minute, examine your top, make sure everything is the way you want it. And we're just going to go in from the armhole and close off that space that we would have left that allowed us to turn our top inside out. same half inch stitch, guys. Just continue the first stitch that we would have created. All right, make sure those layers are lined up evenly. Fantastic. And once that is done, just take a minute, examine your top, grab a pin, make sure all your corners are turned out nice and neat. Most important. All right, and we are just going to drop a nice top stitch, 1/4 of an inch, along the entire circumference of this top, starting from the hem. All right, so when we get to that point, we're just going to pivot our needle, take that top stitch all the way up our neckline. Fantastic. Just take your time, guys. I know it's a lot of layers, but just take your time. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with your machine. Be patient with this project. All right, go ahead and pivot your needle again. And at this point, you could take that stitch all the way along the neckline, but I did stop at this point. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Just make sure everything is nice and neat and the way that you want it. Once the other side is stitched exactly the same way, I did go back and stitch along the neckline. All right, to just limit the amount of bulk that was happening there as well. So you can definitely just take that stitch all the way around the circumference. And you don't have to stop at all. Just stitch, baby. Just stitch. All right. Take your time. I know it's bulky. Just take your time. All the way down to the end. Great. So once that is done, and you are happy with the way it looks, we are just going to close off our armholes using a strip of fabric cut on the bias. And the difference between a regular strip and a strip cut on the bias is that when you cut a strip on the bias, it gives that's the part of the fabric that has stretch. So even fabrics that do not have stretch in any direction, when you cut it on the bias, meaning cutting diagonally, you will get some sort of stretch. So just keep that in mind. All right, it does make it a little bit easier when you're piping stuff. But I mean, baby, this is chiffon. Chiffon has no respect for anybody. So whether you cut it on the bias, you're still gonna get a little bit of resistance, and you still need a whole lot of patience in order to make sure it's nice and neat. All right, but just be patient with yourself. You're gonna get this. Okay, so we're just gonna fold that over and drop a nice clean top stitch along that entire thing. Turn as much as you need to get this as neat as you possibly can. And of course, when you are finished with one armhole, you're going to do the same thing to the other armhole. All right. Go ahead and snip your threads. No one likes stray threads. And take a minute, just acknowledge the amazing work that you just did. And that is it for our Coraline inspired cup jacket. And of course, this is my Beldam inspired makeup look. I will be sure to link the video that inspired this look. And of course, here are a couple clips showing you guys how I put everything together. Makeup, outfit, everything. Guys, this is the end of my video. If you guys enjoy videos like these, do not forget to leave me a like, leave me a comment in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.